All right, let's now bring in political analyst Dr Levy Ndou to also make a sense of the ANC's celebrations in Gauteng as well as in KZN. Doctor, a very good afternoon to you. So, looking at the integrity of the party as well as the multitude of challenges it has faced in the past few years, how do you then think they are currently faring in navigating the tough political terrain of which they found themselves in? And what do they have to celebrate leading to and since their 113th birthday?
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me. They've actually decided to make it a culture to constantly celebrate their birthday. And of course, they do that ensuring that the leadership has to provide the line of march in what is expected to be done. And specifically, if we have to look at KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, these are the provinces of the ANC that have got very serious challenges that relates to the performance of the party in the previous elections. Of course, there are many areas that the ANC has to look at, especially on the basis of, if you look at issues related to integrity and issues that relate to ethical conduct. The ANC is being blamed by many other people for issues relating to corruption in government. And they do so because there are some members of the ANC, some past and some present, who have been fingered in wrongdoing or in corrupt activities. Those are the issues that the ANC has to deal with. Apart from other issues outside the party, the ANC has to deal decisively with issues that relates to factionalism, which has eaten the ANC slowly because some factions within the ANC would not cooperate with the leadership. Some will end up forming breakaway parties because they are not able to manage issues that relates to factionalism. Issues that are also very important for the ANC would be that when people go out to vote and have to vote for the ANC, they now have to look at the track record, and you can't determine when do they have to look at the track record. Some will look at the ANC from its inception, some will look at the ANC as the governing party and look at issues that relate to service delivery. So where the ANC will not be doing well in terms of service delivery, the possibility is that some of the voters would therefore have to punish them.
You know, great reviews there, Doctor, because then it sounds to me like the whole party, if I'm getting you correctly, needs then to be reconfigured, not certain structures. But let's talk about that. I mean, there was a lot of speculation as to what decision will be taken in regards to those two PECs, namely KZN and GP. But the NEC opting for what was termed reconfiguration, an option seemingly meant to lessen the blow somewhat to leadership as we head towards the all-important local government elections next year. So a disbandment would have been even more costlier to the party.
Of course, the ANC spoke about three options. The first option being maintaining the status quo or reconfiguration or dissolving the structures. And I think they could have chosen the midline because they did not want to be seen, if they opt for dissolution, to create a situation where it will negatively affect the unity project. And also other political parties are waiting on the sides that if some people feel not happy, feel ill-treated, and they feel not wanted in the party, they could easily go and join other parties. You also cannot go for the status quo because indeed there are challenges that were visible, and such challenges will require the leadership to take action. So of course, when we talk about reconfiguration, it's what appears to have been accepted by both PECs. In any way, they'll remain in their positions. They might get reinforcement. They might be moved around from one position to the other, but what therefore could be read in the reconfiguration approach is that they are still needed in the ANC. They can still play leadership roles, but it could take a different form. All what we're waiting for is to get exactly what will be the shape that the reconfiguration is going to take.
I mean, Doctor, how long would the ANC need, particularly in these two hotly contested and kind of kingmaker provinces, for them to be reconfigured? I mean, we don't have a lot of time before those LGEs.
We unfortunately do not have a lot of time, but my view is that this is the process that will require consultation, negotiations, and also ensuring that everyone is actually put on board. And my view is that they could be wanting to come up with an option that could be best for the party, that will be able to take the movement forward. But my view is that they could have identified all the challenging areas in the party, and what could be the approach in Gauteng cannot necessarily be the approach in KwaZulu-Natal, because even though they face a similar situation, their dynamics are different and what they're facing is different. So I think they have to look at provinces individually and take appropriate steps based on the dynamics in those provinces.
Interesting indeed there, Doctor. So now the first Sona under the GNU is almost upon us, and a lot of noise from GNU partners about certain conduct on bills. I mean, you were talking about those bystanders waiting for a chance to get into government. I mean, with some threatening to pull out and have since backtracked and reaffirmed themselves. It's been a busy first month of this year already.
Indeed, a very busy month, but also I think it's important to note that when you have the kind of government that we have in South Africa, you're always going to have differences and tensions, because you have got political parties that have been contesting each other, and such will always happen. But it's also important to note as well that when the president has to sign a bill, the president does not just get a bill from nowhere. The president will get a bill from parliamentary processes. And it is important that the GNU does not necessarily mean that the activities of parliament are suspended. So parliament is always going to function. And what I expect is that members of parliament should be able to argue their cases in parliament, because the president's role here is to ensure that after they've argued, after they've had their own discussions, whatever is taken becomes the decision of government, and the president has to sign these bills into law. My expectation again is that with the government lekgotla that is coming, ministers have to sit down and argue their cases there in the cabinet lekgotla. What the president has to come up with is the decision of government in terms of the programs that are supposed to be taken. So all ministers who are part of government should make a contribution to the State of the Nation address, and I would not expect to get ministers differing, because they should be able to argue their cases in the government lekgotla that has just taken place. But equally, these differences that are there are good for our democracy, because they would assist us to see things from different angles and therefore take an appropriate action based on all the information that is available.
And Doctor, I mean, maybe in closing, what do you expect then President Cyril Ramaphosa will speak to during his State of the Nation address? We've seen the National Development Plan has resurfaced in a lot of the ANC's keynote addresses as well as speeches.
This, in my view, is going to be one of the best State of the Nation addresses, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
It's going to be the best because different political parties are part of government. It therefore means that the views of other political parties should be shared in this government lekgotla, And when the president is to come with the State of the Nation, he should be able to get the views from other political parties. So it should not be surprising that the position of the UDM, for an example, what they spoke about during elections, what the PAC has been talking about, what the Democratic Alliance has been talking about, could also be included in the State of the Nation address. In any way, they have got ministers in government. They should be capable to argue their cases in cabinet until they agree and have such included in the State of the Nation address.
Doctor, thank you so much as always for your input this afternoon. That is Dr. Levy Ndou, the political analyst, in conversation with us on a number of political developments as we head towards the very first Sona in just this coming week.